Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel. In this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night. The Russians launched another massive missile drone attack all over the entire Ukraine, and the Ukrainian sources reported that the drones were discovered in the western part of Ukraine, the vicinity of Kiev, in Sumy region, in south of Ukraine. But when talking about explosions, the Ukrainian sources reported that explosions took place in Nikolaev region, the explosions took place in Zaporozhye area, and we have at least one video confirmation of that, one of those explosions. As a result of missile or probably drone attack, the Russians managed to destroy ammo depot in the vicinity of this logistic hub that Ukrainians used to supply and support their forces on Orekhov bridgehead. Furthermore, the Russians published another video how they destroyed S-300 system in the vicinity of Nikolaev and Nikolaev area. This area the Ukrainians used to protect the western and the central part of Ukraine from attack from Crimea and so on. But as we can see, that S-300 system was destroyed without any possibilities and chances to defeat and to destroy, shut down Russian drones. As you can see, that S-300 system was destroyed by drone. Now we are moving to Orekhov, and let's talk a little bit about this bridgehead, about the Battle of Orekhov and so on. First, let's discuss Petykhatki. We discussed that during the previous days there was very heavy clashes in this settlement, and every single day the settlement changed its owner probably for a few times per day. But today we can say that Ukrainians, neither Ukrainians nor the Russians controls at least the southern, western and the eastern part of this settlement. Probably the Ukrainians control the northern one that located on the northern bank of this river Yancherkak. But the settlement itself, in the main part of this that settlement, is located in the gray zone. Nobody. The thing is that it is possible to control, it is possible to answer this settlement, but it is very difficult to stand against enemy's artillery. So this is the reason why nobody answers this settlement, because if anybody answers, then the enemy's artillery start bombing and shelling the settlement, and after that the forces, clearing forces, special forces answer the settlement to complete the clearing operation. That's it. So this is the reason I believe that this settlement is going to stay in gray zone for a very long time, because the thing is that main positions either from the Russian side and from the Ukrainian side are located on the hills. So the Russians on the hills on the south, from the east on the west and the south of the settlement, and the Ukrainians are located on the hills on the north. So this is the reason nobody is going to answer. But when talking about the Russians, this situation completely fits the Russians' requirements and Russians' needs, because from this perspective everything is okay. The Ukrainians can't advance, can't move further, and from the Ukrainian side they need to think what to do next, because they need to penetrate this area and they need to develop this bridgehead to capture Zhirybyanki, Petykhatki and fortifications in the vicinity of this settlement. Now we're moving to Orekhov bridgehead. There were no changes during the previous 24 hours. The Russians just published another interesting video how they managed to destroy another Bradley somewhere on Orekhov bridgehead. Some sources are saying that that video was made on the Vremivka tactical bridgehead. On this video you can see how the Russians, using their light pods, destroyed Bradley somewhere among the fields of Zaporozhye. Now we're moving further to the Vremivka tactical bridgehead. Nothing interesting happened during the previous night, but the Russians are saying that during the previous night they made a small counter-offensive operation from Shevchenkovo in Novomayorsk in direction of Prichistovka. And when talking about Russians' attacks, usually and during the previous days, if they were attacking, mainly they were attacking in direction of Prichistovka, somewhere from the south, trying to attack the Ukrainian flanks and not to allow them to move forces from Kurakhova along this road in direction of Vremivka tactical bridgehead, because Kurakhova is also another logistic hub. From the Ukrainians got some supports from Pokrovsk, and using these roads they are sending their forces closer to the combat line. Very interesting update during the night. We're coming from Liman and Kupiansk front line. We haven't received any detailed information about the events that took place during the previous night. The only piece of news that we got is that the Russians launched launched a massive counter-offensive operation on Kupiansk and Liman front lines. For example, today we got some videos, some confirmations that the Russians start to get a very big push, very powerful push in the Kremenная forest. But if you ask my opinion, I don't believe any attacks in forest. Forest is the only place where the Russians got in the past a lot of problems. There were a lot of clashes in forest, in the vicinity of Kiev, in the vicinity of Slimensk, in the vicinity of Kharkiv, and mainly the Russians got always problems in forest. So if the Russians launched an offensive operation, I'm not expecting that they're going to advance very fast. Probably this is another push, a very powerful push, but anyway, it's going to take months or probably 2 before the Russians are able to get the Seversky Donetsk River. Also, the Russians reported one more time, I remind you, that they launched offensive operation of 76 Air Assault Division, and the Russians were attacking exactly on this bridgehead. One more time, we still haven't received any video, photo, and map confirmation of that progress. Also, also some updates were coming from Liman and Kupiansk front line, and the Russian sources reported that the Russian forces managed to get a little bit closer to Kupiansk. They haven't provided us any video, photo, geolocated confirmations, just the regular words that the Russians managed to advance. Today we are going to expect more updates about these front lines. Probably these 2 front lines are going to become very important these days, and this is like the tactics of the Russians. They see how the Ukrainians have accumulated significant number of their forces in the vicinity of Zaporozhye and Dnipro, and of course the Russians need to stretch Ukrainians' reserves and to force them to send some reinforcements to these front lines. So that's why they will try to attack, they will try to push, but of course not like a maniacs. I'm trying to say not like Ukrainians are sending like hundreds, thousands of soldiers to the mid grinder. Probably it's going to be a very accurate and slow operation, but of course with some level of pressure, with a purpose to force the Ukrainians to send some reserves in these directions. And that's it for this short video. The Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching, subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.